Today's just a quick video about self-hosting 0.11 Cloud, which is a replacement voice command server for early prototype vector firmware, pre 1.0. So, prerequisites, you obviously need a Linux computer. In my case, as you can see, I'm running Windows, but I can connect to a Linux computer, which is what I'm doing right now. Ignore this. So, you just want to have a Linux computer on hand and be able to connect to it over something like SSH, or just be on it in general. For me, I'm just going to connect to it over SSH. This tutorial does assume you have a little bit of experience with the command line and APOC 2, which we're going to be using for proxying. And you also have to be able to open ports on your router. So, first step is to clone Chipper 0.11-cloud. So you can just copy the link here, go over here, git clone, and you can just paste in the link. Okay, so once it's cloned, it's preferred you can use an IDE like Visual Studio Code, but I can do this all over the command line. So we want to go into the folder for 0.11-cloud. As you can see, this is what it looks like, pretty basic. Nothing really to note. You might be tempted to just start off by running the exe file. I mean the bash script, but that won't work instantly. What you want to do now is you want to download a few files. You want to first download the VOSK or VOSK API. So you can do that, and you want to put it into a folder. So make a folder called VOSK, mkdir VOSK. So once it's made, it's an empty folder, as you can see. Now you want to download this file. This file is the VOSK API, and yeah. So when you download that, it's obviously going to download that. You want to extract it. In Linux, there's just the standard unzip command, which you can use to unzip it. Then when you go into the folder, it's these two files. You just want to move these two files back up to the main VOSK folder, like that. And then you can delete the zip and the extra folder it made, like that. Okay, so that's the VOSK API made. Now you want to download a VOSK model itself. To do that, you can just open a new tab here. VOSK models. There we go. And you can see here, there's a big list of models you can download. For me, since for the purpose of this demo, I'm just going to download this small model. But if it's something you're going to use like often, I download this model, the 1.8 gigabyte model. So anyways, once it's done, you want to make a folder, mkdir model. And you just put the model into it. So download this. Extract it. As you can see here. Now you want to, once again, move everything over to the previous folder. And you can delete the extra files that you downloaded here. Good. Okay. Now, what you want to do is you want to make a source file. If you go back to the original GitHub page, it says you need to source these. Although don't be fooled by just copying this into source.sh. You actually want these in the source.sh. I have one already, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy it in. This way you can see it. This is what a source.sh file should look like. You got your TLS key path, cert, and key path, which is basically how you enable HTTPS on your website. Your weather API key, which I'm not providing, you got to provide your own. You can go to weatherapi.com to provide that to get that. The model path, which basically the current directory / and then into the model folder. The port, and chipper port. This is the port that Vector actually talks to. So when you run a voice command, it'll have to communicate with this port. And then web port. I have it set to 3030 because I'm going to proxy it over to the regular ports. So at this point, it should be able to run if you run sudo 0.11-cloud.sh, and it should just start. Takes a bit. Depending on your machine, it might take a bit for it to compile, but yeah, there it goes. Okay, so it is working. Now, you want to do there's still a few things you need to do. You want to make sure you have APOC 2 installed now. You can run sudo apt install APOC 2 if you're on Debian or Ubuntu, or any of their derivatives. For me, I already have it installed. Now, you also want to have a web domain. With like a web domain, for example, I have a web domain, anki2.ca. All right. But if you don't have a domain like this, you cannot get this server to run. But I do, so that makes it easy for us. Now, what you want to do on the domain is you want to make a subdomain on it. For me, I host a domain on Cloudflare, and Cloudflare, it gives me the ability to create a subdomain on it. So, as you can see here, my Cloudflare dashboard is loading up. So you want to just go into your Cloudflare dashboard, go to your domain, go to DNS, and you want to add a DNS record. So I made a DNS record, which goes to old vchipper-011, which is old vchipper-011.anki2.ca. Why that specific? Your final URL, it has to be 28 characters. The reason why is because when we're putting it on vector, it's going to replace an old line in the cloud. The reason why it can't be a flexible variable is because it's basically binary editing. You can't add more bytes to it. You also can't add less bytes. So you have to use something specific that's end up being 28 letters. So if you have a domain, you have a subdomain set up. Obviously, it's going to be different depending on what your registrar is. I showed you how to do it in Cloudflare. These are the settings. You also want to make sure it's unproxied as well, so DNS only. Now what you want to do is you want to go into your APOC 2 settings. The assumption is I'm going to assume you have it set up. I'm not the one to show you how to set up APOC 2 or teach you the basics, but assuming you have it set up, you want to enter sudo mode, enter the sudo user, and you want to go cd/etc APOC 2 sites available. And you want to make a config file. You can name it whatever you want. I have mine named chipper-011. So, and this is what it should contain. This is going to be the first line is the site that's going to the subdomain that's going to be hosted on plus your main site. So in my case, old vchipper-011.anki2.ca. Now down here, you want to make sure you have HTTPS enabled. You can use something like certbot to give your website a certificate. That's what I did here. But you want to make sure you have the valid certificates in here. Then you want to make sure you have your proxy set up. You can see the proxy settings down here. These should match what your web server port is. In my case, my web server port was 3030. So you want to set this up also to 3030. And these are just extra stuff here. You don't have to worry too much about that. I will leave this config file linked. But once you have that set up, you want to do a2 n site for APOC 2 enable site chipper-11. Now once it's enabled, you want to just run this command systemctl reload APOC 2. Okay, good. So now APOC 2 is running in the background. Well, it's running in the background and it is hosting your site. Now, you want to go back. You want to go back into the chipper folder, well, the 0.11 cloud folder. Now, it will run now, and it should be accessible, assuming you forwarded your ports correctly. And assuming you forwarded your ports correctly, you should be able to run old vchipper.anq.ca and see something like this. You need this will only show up now if you have port 443 enabled. But if you see this, you're good. Now you also want to port forward the other port you're using for chipper. In this case, chipper is running at 442. I'm not going to explain how to port forward, since obviously that's different for every router, but if you poke through your router settings, you should be able to find a way to forward port 442 to the wide web. So, and then now, if you have 442 forwarded correctly, you can run this. That means that now your service now chipper 11 is running correctly. You can see here, still unauthorized since you haven't run a voice command yet, obviously. But you should see a response similar to this. Obviously, it's going to be complete gibberish, but that does mean it is working. Now, what I'm doing now is I'm installing 0.11 onto my bot, and we will modify this to point to Anki's, this new server that we just made. Okay, as you can see here, I've installed different firmware onto my bot. In my case, I installed 0.10. Well, the camera's not focusing. It's fine. As you can see here, it is running. What you want to do now is you want to SSH into vector. So here we are. Sit down. You want to run system ctl stop victor.targets. This will stop the Anki processes. As you can see here, vector screen now goes dark. Now you want to run mount space -o rw, remount /. Alright, now you want to do a verification. Strings /Anki bin vic -cloud. This is the vic cloud executable. And at the same time, you want to run grep and then chipper-dev.api.anki.com:443. This should return one result. Yes, there it is. This is the old URL that we're trying to replace right now. So now you want to run sed space -i quote s dash chip. Actually, you can even just copy it from here. So we want to replace the old domain with our new one. So like that. You don't want to copy the HTTPS bit. You just want to copy this, the actual domain, the subdomain, and the port. So now once that's done, you want to just paste it in there. Then you want to do /g and end quotes. And then Anki bin vic cloud. Because we want to replace the address that's compiled into vic cloud. So you just hit enter. And you just wait. Now, if you want confirmation that this is done, rerun the strings command again. As you can see, returns no results. But now, if you run the same strings command, but with the new URL, there you go. So we successfully replaced the old domain with this new one. Now you want to run systemctl start victor.target. Actually, you don't want to run this yet. You want to make sure the chipper server is running over here. So you just start 0.11 cloud here. There you go. Once it's loaded up, you'll see it says serving chipper. And then you can once again confirm. Yep. And remove the 442. Yeah, it's running. So now that once it's 100% running, you want to start the robot processes. You can see over here on the side, camera went down. Just make this bigger, and there you go. You can see it. So just wake him up. Depending on what beta firmware you're running, it'll be a different process. On this one, you just enter the CCIS screen and exit. Now, hey Vector, what time is it? Okay, it works. I just had to restart Chipper a few times, but it works now. You can see here, hey Vector. Oh wait. Oh yeah, you can see there. Let's wait for him to wake up. Hey Vector. Hello. Hey Vector. Hello. Hey Vector. Fist bump. Hey Vector. Play blackjack. Yes. No. And there you can see, we played around blackjack. No. There we are. Hey Vector. What time is it? As you can see here, some of these older firmwares don't have a lot of the commands the newer ones do. As you can see here in the logs, what time is it did match. But if you look at Vector's logs, you can see here, Vector does not have a clock intent in this older firmware. So that's something you got to keep in mind, the fact that not all the older firmwares will have all the commands of the newer firmwares. But yeah, that was a pretty simple video on how to set this up. It works, and now you can have fun with Vector. Hey Vector, goodbye. Hey Vector, go to sleep.